Hi everyone, thanks very much for coming today to this short little workshop. So today I am hoping to go through a small few tips and tricks to help you on your way to creating, your first skills demonstration video. So I wanted to go through maybe about like 6 different kind of topics. So about your camera, a little bit about setting up the camera and composition, about lighting, sound, a little bit about your camera presence, and also about a little bit about editing. So to start off with your camera, a lot of you are working from home at the moment, and the cameras that might be available to you are maybe your camera on your phone, or also your camera on your laptop or your computer, so your webcam. So from my experience, the quickest and easiest way to get started would be to use your webcam on your camera. You don't have to worry about steadying it because it is on your laptop. It is already steady. You don't have to use a tripod or anything like that. It also saves the videos or the clips that you're creating straight to your computer, ready for editing. And usually on your computer you have a lot more storage, so that you don't have to worry about, are the files too big, or do you have enough space to save each of the files. So for starting off, and if you're not quite sure, I would recommend using your webcam. Now I know the webcam wouldn't be the best of quality, but for convenience it's quite good. If you are using your phone, if you can, I would highly recommend that you would use the camera on the back of your phone. It is a better quality camera, so it has higher resolution, but it also has a better quality lens as well. Now I know for convenience it's easier to use, the selfie camera, because you can see what's happening and you can keep an eye on your composition and if it's recording and all that. However, the quality isn't as good, but you will know yourself from your own camera, from using your camera on your phone. But just be aware as well, sometimes the camera can flip. The selfie camera can flip your image, so which mightn't be a major problem, but it could be a problem if you were doing something that was quite detailed, that you needed it not to be a mirrored image. So just to be aware of that. So a lot of you have probably set up your cameras before for taking photographs, maybe not so much for video. So if you go into your settings for your camera, you can set what the resolution will be. So a lot of the time the resolution that you might be available to you might be something like 720 or even 1080. So I would go with the highest quality available to you. Now you do need to understand that if the higher the quality, the more space it's going to take up on your internal memory. So just to be aware of that. If you're conscious of your internal memory, maybe keep the resolution down a little bit lower. Also, what you might have available is something called frames per second, and sometimes it might be something like 24 or 30, or maybe 50 or 60. So for purposes of a skills demonstration, keep it to either 24 or 30 frames per second, because the more frames that you record per second, the higher the size of the bigger the size of your clips. So the next little thing that you should be aware of is a lot of if you were using your phone, a lot of the time you would automatically have your phone in a portrait or kind of upright format, but I would really recommend that you actually turn it on, the camera on its side or the phone on its side, and record in landscape format, because this a lot of the time people will be, they may be viewing the content on a phone, but they also might be viewing on a tablet or on a computer, and if you turn your camera on its side on the landscape format, it opens it up to an awful lot more platforms or an awful lot more devices. If you record upright on the portrait mode, you are kind of really, I suppose, targeting people that are using phones, and it won't look as well on a computer. Your image will be much smaller on a computer. Try in some way to steady your camera. So you can actually get little tiny tripods for phones and tablets, and of course that's a little bit more expense. But you can steady your camera, you know, putting it up on a stack of books and maybe, you know, two jam jars either side. As long as you're not blocking the camera, it will hold it steady for you. I've also made little stands using Lego, Duplo Lego and stuff like that, but any way that you can possibly steady your camera, it would be brilliant. If you have to hand hold your camera, which I don't recommend, but if you have to hold it, you can actually turn on image stabilization on your phone, and that will help I suppose steady the recording, or else try and steady yourself. So, you know, even leaning your elbows up against a table, or standing with your feet just a slight little bit apart and holding your elbows right in against your body, it helps to steady your camera. So the next thing would be focus. Generally, when you're talking about webcams and phones, your focus is automatic, but you can actually, for the phones anyway, you can actually touch the screen exactly where you want to keep what you want to keep in focus. You could touch the phone where you're going to be standing in the frame, and as long as you don't move too far forward or backwards, you will stay in focus throughout that recording. And then even some of the more recent phones and more expensive phones, they also have face detection, so you could turn on face detection and it will actually recognize a face and keep that face in focus. So the next thing is exposure. So again, a lot of the time with video on webcams and phones, the exposure is automatic, which is brilliant because it means you don't actually have to worry too much about the exposure. But you may decide that you actually think that the screen is a little bit too dark, or you might want to, you know, brighten it up a little bit. And again, if you touch on the screen, usually a little kind of a sun like an icon of a sun will come up, and if you drag up or down, you will be able to either brighten or darken your exposure. And it's the same thing on webcams as well. If you go into the settings, it will allow you to up your exposure, or, you know, make the screen a little bit brighter or make it darker depending on what your preferences are. So the next thing is composition. I think if you set up your camera and have a little look through your viewfinder and just have a look around your background. Is there anything in your background that's distracting? Anything that's personal that you don't want in the shot, take the time before you actually start to record and take it away. There's nothing worse than going, oh my god, there's something in the background that's totally distracting, or like a plant sticking out of your head, and it's ruined your whole composition. You didn't realise it while you're recording, but once you go back and view it, you see there's something there, and you have to start the recording all over again. So even spending 2 or 3 minutes having a look at what's in the background, is it distracting? Is it adding to the composition? If it's not adding to it, take it away. So keeping your backgrounds as simple as possible. The next thing is camera placement. So I'm sure you've seen a lot of maybe webinars or Teams meetings where the camera is a little bit low and you can see up people's nostrils, people are looking down, and you get all of this kind of, you know, double chin. The best place to put your camera is actually slightly above your head, looking down, so slightly above your eye line and looking down. It will give you a much more flattering image. It also brings your head up a little bit, so your chin actually lifts up a little bit and it slims down your neck, which is much more flattering. Also, be aware about your composition. If you're doing a skills demonstration and you have a lot of props that you want to show, make sure that you have your camera back far enough so that you can see all of those things in your composition. There's nothing worse than starting off your video and then realising that you actually have no space to show what you want to do. So the next thing that I wanted to talk about is lighting, which is really, really, really important. First things, I'm going to do the don'ts. Do not record with some sort of light in the background. So do not have a window light or a bright light behind you, because it will silhouette your figure. So you will be totally dark and the background will actually be exposed correctly. Also, another thing is avoid overhead lighting. So, you know, your light that would be on the ceiling, try avoid using that because it can cast, again, some nasty shadows. It's not very, very flattering. The best thing to do, the best and easiest light to work with is actually window light. So if you have a big window, use that light as your main light source. Now it can get a little bit complicated if it's a very, very bright day and the light goes up and down. So if you have some way of diffusing the light, that makes it even better, because it's more consistent. You're trying to get some kind of even, consistent lighting. So if you have you know, a neck curtain, that would be absolutely excellent, because it diffuses the light a little bit. But having the window light is the cheapest and easiest way to light up your skills demonstration. The best position to put it in is actually over to the side of the camera. Right. My light is on this side at the moment, and you can see that I don't have too much shadow on this side, but if there was a lot of shadow on this side, just putting something white or something that will bounce the light, like even a mirror that will bounce the light back on this side, will help an awful lot. If you don't have window light, if you're filming at night time or whatever it is, if you have some sort of a lamp, and even better, 2 lamps either side of your camera, so one on the right, one on the right, one on the left, and some way to diffuse the light. So if you have some sort of a light coloured shade, or if you don't have a shade, if it's one of those bare bulb lamps, if you actually turn the light backwards, so it's bouncing off a light coloured wall, it will spread the light a little bit more, and it'll be an awful lot more flattering, so it's diffused. So what you are looking for is kind of even, consistent lighting. So the next thing that we're going to go on to is sound. Sound an awful lot of the time is an afterthought, and believe me, it is the most important thing. You can actually watch a badly shot video with really good sound. You cannot watch a really well shot video with really bad sound. For example, a lot of us are watching streamed videos at the moment, and have you ever watched or where the sound is a little bit delayed? So people are talking but the sound is just a little bit delayed. It's absolutely infuriating. You don't need a whole load of equipment, especially for this kind of skills demonstration videos. It's just a few little tips. So first thing is, do not record in an empty room. I'm sure at some stage in your lives you've probably gone to view an empty house, you know, if you were going to rent a new apartment or a house, or if you were buying a new house, and if there was nothing, if the house was empty, there is a massive echo. So do not record in an empty room. Stay away from rooms as well with things like tiled floors or wooden floors, because again the sound bounces off those kind of reflective surfaces and will cause an echo. The best place to record is somewhere where there's an awful lot of soft furnishings. So that's why I'm actually up in my bedroom at the moment, because that's the only room with the carpet. Also, I know there's loads of soft furnishing, because there's pillows, there's duvets, all of that kind of stuff. All of those things absorb the sound and reduce the echo. So if you have to record somewhere where it's kind of an interior, like you might be in an office, or you know, the spare room where there isn't many soft furnishings, so bring them in. You know, put something like blankets or cushions beside you out of the frame, but it will absorb all of those echoes. So that's kind of the first tip. The next thing is actually sit in the room for a few minutes. So sit and see, because a lot of the times we don't actually hear background noise. So, you know, is the washing machine going at the moment? Maybe turn it off. Is the dishwasher going? Is there, you know, any background noise? Just to be aware of it. Like, are the kids downstairs watching TV? You know, maybe turn the sound down. Anything that is background noise is distracting, and if you can eliminate it, it would be the best thing. So there is an inbuilt mic in your laptop and in your phone, and generally they're for like general purpose mics. And if you are not too far away from your device, your recording will be, you know, pretty good, especially if you've been aware of the background noises and you've eliminated them and you've reduced the amount of echo in the room. So generally it's quite good. You would need, now if you have to, because of what you're showing, if you have to step back a good bit from your camera, I would recommend maybe trying to invest in a mic. So you can get a mic that just clips onto your clothes, and it usually has quite a long lead, and that would pick up much better sound. Also, another little tip, rather than having to go out and buy a mic, what you can actually use are headphones with mics in them. So you will know that there is a mic on your headphone if on the little jack you have 4 little discs of metal. So if you have 4 little discs of metal, there is a mic in it. If there's only 3, there's no mic, it's just headphones. So if you have to stand back from your lens or from your camera, and you don't have a mic, I would recommend actually plugging your earphones into your phone or your laptop and trailing the earphones and bringing the mic as close to you as possible, and that mic will pick up better sound than if you were just using the mic in your device. Okay, so the second last topic is camera presence. I would take the time to sit down and plan what is going to be in my video. You could write a script, so you could write a detailed script of exactly what you're going to say. That might sound or look a little bit staged. A lot of the time you're dealing with topics that you're very familiar with, so it kind of flows naturally. But even having little bullet points of what you want to cover written down makes a big difference. You also might even actually want to go as far as storyboarding, saying, at the beginning I'm going to have me talking to the camera, a piece to the camera, then I'm actually going to go and stop it and then bring the camera closer to, where I'm doing my demonstration, maybe focusing on my hands on whatever it is that you're demonstrating, and then finish off with another piece to camera. So even a tiny little story, like just a plan, will help big time on how you come across on the camera. Practice. It makes a big difference. Just sitting down and talking to the camera is, it can be a bit unnerving. So sitting down and talking to the camera, practicing saying what you're going to say, having little dummy runs will actually help and grow in your confidence. You'll be a little bit more relaxed in front of the camera. Smiling. Big thing. Using your hands if you have to. I know you can't see my hands at the moment, but using your hands, using your facial expressions, all of that will help with your camera presence and delivering your message. Another thing is, don't worry if you make mistakes. You won't believe the amount of mistakes I've made on this. Now I don't stop the recording. I keep the recording going because in editing I can actually just slice out the bits that I don't want. So the bits where I've made a mistake and I've just started again, I can slice out the mistake in post-processing afterwards. So the last thing I want to talk about is editing. I would recommend that you do the tiniest, simplest bit of editing of your video before you put it up on whatever platform you're going to be delivering it on. There are loads and loads of free software, video editing software online. Now the only thing is it can get really complicated, and you could spend an age looking at YouTube videos on how to use different types of software. I would keep it as simple as possible. So for instance, if you are a Mac user, I would use iMovie. Very simple and straightforward. If you actually are very lucky and have an Adobe account, use Adobe Rush. Really nice little editing software. Very user-friendly, quite intuitive to use. If you are a PC user, I would use the video editor app that actually comes with your computer. It is very basic, but that's all you need. So to find your video editor, if you just type in the search bar video editor, it'll come up, video editor app. This is the video editor app. The first thing you will do is create a new project. We're going to just call this test and press OK. So there's 3 main areas. This is the area where all your clips will go in, so you'll add your clips in here. This is your storyboard where you will add each of the clips in order, and whichever order they are in here, that's how they will play in your finished video. So let's add a few videos. So we're going to add it from our PC. They're already on the PC, and these are the 3 I'm going to add. So I'm just going to open them up. It'll take a few seconds for them to put in. So obviously the bigger the files, the longer it will take to go in. So you can see the 3 of them are there. So I'm just going to bring down the first one there onto my first little clip area there. You can see that's actually 55 seconds, and obviously I'm not going to use 55 seconds. I'm going to bring it down to a much shorter time. So I've turned down the volume so otherwise you wouldn't actually be able to hear me talking. So just I let it play here, and you can see that very first part of the clip is where I am kind of fixing myself, getting to the right composition. So I don't actually want that in the video. So the best thing to do is actually trim the beginning of the video, and that's with this little button here. So this is the video that is selected, or the clip that's selected, and I'm going to go to my trim button here, and I'll bring up this new window, and I'm going to trim right down to where I have possibly, I am happy with that, okay? And there is 55 seconds left there, so I'm actually just going to, just for the purpose of showing you how to edit, I'm going to bring it down to much shorter, so about maybe 5 seconds, okay? So I press OK. Now just so you know, it's down to about 5 seconds, but if I wanted to go back in again, I can go into that trim menu again, and my footage, all the footage is still there. If I wanted to go back in to get it again, it's just trimmed it down, so this is all that I will see on my storyboard. So I'm going to press done there, and I'm going to bring in the next clip and put that one next to it. So this is actually again same kind of thing, fixing myself a little bit. So about there, I'm going to trim it again. Again, I'm going to trim it and make it much smaller. That's about 4 minutes long, so it'll take way too long to edit for you. So we'll just bring it down to something like that, just to show you the process of doing it. And then maybe the last one. So bring the last one down there. And I'd just say there was 2 parts of this video that you wanted to use, or maybe the beginning and the end, but you don't want the middle. You can actually just go in here to your clip and go to split. So maybe I'm going to split the first part. I'm going to use maybe the first, we'll just go the first 5 or 6 seconds. Okay, and press OK. And now it has actually split the clip into 2 different clips. So I'm going to use that one first, and then maybe I'm going to use the end of it as well. So maybe down to just a small few seconds here. And it actually tells me up here how long each of the clips are. So let's just say something like that. That's perfect. And then I'm going to actually just get rid of this big clip in the middle. So if I click on that clip, you can see that this is the one that is highlighted at the moment. That blue bar indicates that. And I'm actually just going to press remove. So now I have 4 different clips, and they will play in that order. If I play this, they will play in that order. You will see the first clip, and then it will go to the next clip, and so on. You can also put in titles here. So in here you can add a title. I'm going to bring it to the very beginning here. You can see the title is 3 seconds long. Now if you wish to, you can change the background color. So maybe, you know, your theme, maybe you want purple. That's perfect. Maybe you want some text in there. So if you want, you can add the text in here. And there's a few different styles of text that you could use here. So maybe I'm just going to go to the classic, and again I'm just going to we'll put it in test. Press OK. Just say for this clip you wanted to put your name in it. You can add text on the actual clip. So I'm going to write down Anya. Now it's putting it at the top there, but maybe I want to actually put it down the bottom. There, maybe I want it for the full length of the clip. I press done, and you can see here, if I press play, then I have my title at the bottom there. Or, you know, maybe a little title card at the end that just says thank you for listening. So I can put it there at the end, and again just put in my text saying thank you. Maybe I'll put this one in the middle there and press OK. So once you're happy with that, and again you can move things around if you want to. Obviously you'll be doing this a little bit more you're paying a little bit more attention, but the main things are putting your title cards in, trimming down your clips or splitting your clips up and getting rid of bits that you don't need, and then adding text if you wish to. Once you're finished, you go up to this little button up here saying finish video, and it gives you 3 different qualities that you can use. I would recommend to stay to the high quality unless it's a very, very long video. Maybe you want to bring it down to the medium quality for uploading to the internet. And you just press export, and it will ask you where you want to save it, and you will save it you know, in the specific location that you want for your video. So I think that's it. They were the main little tiny points that I wanted to share with you today. I'm going to put my email up here again on the bottom of the screen. If you have any other questions or anything that you want to know, please do email me and I can answer them as best as I can. Thanks very much for listening.